let's go through some of the struggles that we've had with customers before. I know we've had different payment issues, different quality, different picky customers, and I'll dive into this a little bit, but I'll let you start. You have a very interesting story with one in particular customer.
Yeah.
Let's get into that.
Um, I guess I have a couple stories. So I have, it was one of my first big jobs that I got. Like all my maintenance customers were usually pretty small, and I had this driving range reach out to me, not too far away from the shop, and it was a big driving range. And he's like, "Yeah, we're just looking for a guy," and yada yada yada, all this kind of stuff. And he's like, "Don't worry, we'll pick up all the golf balls before you come out." And I'm like, "Man, this is a huge field. Like, this is a lot of area. Obviously, driving range.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know why they didn't have their own own mower, but
Yeah.
they needed somebody to come out and mow it. They had a thing to pick up the golf balls, but they needed somebody to mow. So I would go out there with one of the guys and mow it every single week. And so first month goes by, he's super happy, everything's good, and I'm like, all right, everything's good. And then second month goes by and we're working out there, and I'm like, okay, like we still haven't received one payment. He's like, hey, I'm sorry, my business partner's at a convention out in Las Vegas. He'll send you a check next week.
Mm-hmm.
And then we go out there for the third month, and I'm like coming inside, I'm like, what's going on? Like, like you told me he's gonna be paying me. I didn't get a check. He's like, oh no, we'll send a check like here soon, yada yada yada, all this kind of stuff. And I believe we serviced it for like 4 months, and and I'm like, dude, we can't service it anymore. He's like, yeah, no problem, don't worry about it. I'll find another landscaper. And so like then now I'm like trying to collect the money, and he's just like not responding, not answering his phone anymore, stopping by over there. He's not over there. And
This is before you had contracts, also, I'm guessing.
no, we had like our own little contract, which wasn't really a contract, but so we sent it to collections. The company ends up folding, going out of business, and all that money is pretty much money that we can't claim.
Yeah.
So like, obviously we that one stung pretty bad because it was like when I was in my early phases and when money was like really, really, really tight, like where I didn't even have money to put tires on my personal car.
Yeah.
It's because the first 4 or 5 years I didn't even collect the salary. It was just like money in, money out, and I would just live on bare bones minimum. And we've had multiple of those clients. We had another client that we did big cleanup for. The guys serviced it for like 3 months, and I'm like, obviously as a business owner, it was really hard going through, all those aging reports and checking up and seeing who owes you money.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're going through with my wife, and she's like, hey, this guy hasn't paid. And I'm like, we're still servicing. We're like, yeah, we're still servicing. I'm like, cancel the service for now.
Mm-hmm.
Let me call him. And I don't remember his name. Let's just say his name was like Drew or whatever. I'm like, hey, good morning, Drew. This is Vitaly with Simple Lens. He's like, who? I'm like, Vitaly with Simple Lens. He's like, all right, bye, and just hangs up the phone. And I'm like, what the heck just happened? Are you kidding me? Like, like it was like it was like $4,000 or $5,000 worth of work. The golf course was like close to $8,000 worth of work. But I would say my biggest loss was worked with this designer. So it was actually. When I was looking for a project manager, he was actually applying for my job when I was looking for a project manager, and we had a great interview and all that kind of stuff. But I just didn't end up hiring him, and I ended up going with somebody else just because he didn't have the experience yet.
Mm-hmm.
Or actually, no, that was the year that I didn't go with anybody.
Project manager, yeah.
And so later on, I'm like, hey, how's it going? He's like, yeah, good. I actually have a project that I'm going to be doing out in Camas. Are you interested in doing it with me? And I'm like, yeah, sure, that's fine. I can do it. He sends me a plan. I give him a bid for like $130,000. It was a huge design. And he's like, that's way too expensive. We can't do that. We're going to take out this. I'm like, okay, send me a revised plan because like, I'm not going to, how can I bid that? And then it's like your word against my word type of deal. And so like, I can't bid it like that. He's like, okay, well, let's let's do it this way. Just give me an hourly rate, and then we'll just bid. You don't even have to come out here. Like, I'll run your guys. Like, literally, I'm just renting your employees and your trucks.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, that's kind of like, I'm like, I'll do it, and then and I'll do it for a discounted rate to like, kind of make it like worth it for you, because you're running my guys. I don't have to run it, so it's kind of like I give you my guys, and I don't have to do it.
Yeah.
And obviously, this is before I even knew my numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And I told him $45 per guy per hour, and that also included the trucks, the trailers, all the equipment going out there. We didn't charge them extra for any of that stuff.
Yep.
And we were out there, like, I think for like 3 months.
Yeah.
And when we started, he's like, hey, we need to go over everything. I'm like, okay, that's fine. We can go over everything. We go over everything, figure out a game plan. Next day comes around, he's like, hey, I need you out here again.
Yeah.
So I go him out there again. And I'm like, okay. And it's like, when I say going out there, I don't mean like 15 minutes. I'm talking about like 2-3 hour meeting.
Yeah.
And so, like, every other day he would call me. He's like, hey, we need to have another meeting. We need to have another meeting. And I just spent like literally 2-3 hours every other day, maybe like every couple days out there just going over things. And I'm like,
do you think it was because of that, because he didn't have the experience? He's almost like reassuring his own design with you there, knowing that you know the market.
He pretty much wanted me to run everything for him.
Yeah.
He just wanted to be like, he wanted to sub me out but not pay for me.
Yeah.
So pretty much we were out there for quite a while. I think I don't remember the number exactly off my head, but I think it was like, it added up to like $90,000.
Uh-huh.
So, he gave me like $30,000 down when we started the project. So it felt legit. Everything was good. And when we send him out all the hours, he's like, there's no way they worked this many hours out here. I'm like, okay, I'll send you a spreadsheet of every single day, how many hours each guy worked out there and who worked out there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I send it out to him, and he's like, okay, well, you told me that it's going to take me only 1,000 hours, not 2,000. I don't remember exact hours, but I'm like, yeah, but you told me that it's only going to be 2 trailer fulls of rock. We brought out like 35 trailer fulls of rock.
Yeah.
And then like, you told me it's only going to be this many plants. We planted triple the amount of plants. Like, it's like, I wasn't even controlling my guys. Like, in the very beginning, you told me that you were going to be like in full control of my guys. Like,
yeah.
I would like all my time. I'm not even charging for my time, which that was me losing money because I couldn't bid, me losing money because I couldn't look over my numbers, me losing money. Like, this is me just wasting my time coming out there when you told me you were going to run my guys.
Yeah.
And so pretty much, it got really hard because when the thing that saved me is that we put a right to lien on the property, even though it wasn't his house, it was a customer's house. And when we put the right to lien, the customer held money from him. And because he was not going to pay me anything else.
Yeah.
And so he lived out of his Sprinter van, and he would go off the grid. So he would go off the grid, and I'm like, I'm struggling because I can't flow, $50,000 or $60,000 just for fun like that for like a couple months, and I'm struggling.
Yeah, realistically more.
I was pretty much like at $45. That's like, looking at it now, that was like below our cost.
Yeah.
Like, we were literally losing money every single hour we were out
exactly.
there. So like, realistically, it should have probably been $150,000 if we were charging the actual rate.
Yeah.
So he finally like gets back into cell service, and he's like, okay, well, let's just settle then, because now his customers are involved. I called another subcontractor that was working with him. They're like, yeah, we can't get a hold of him. He owes us like $50,000 for this project that we did for him. And I'm like, crap. Like, if he already owes all these people money, he probably already spent the money, and I'm not going to get anything. And then he's going to claim bankruptcy, because realistically, it's just, he could literally just go off the grid, claim bankruptcy. It's not going to stop him.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, let's just settle at least and get something, rather than not get anything.
Exactly.
And so we just kind of, he's like, okay, I'll give you 10,000. And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
That's like, that comes out to like $25 an hour or whatever it is. I'm like, dude, are you crazy? Like, and so We finally like settled like on $25,000 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like shorted like 40 grand, and that was $40,000 at my cost, pretty much, or below my cost.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, the amount of like it was just such a crappy feeling when I go out there to the bank with him, and I'm just like, I'm so pissed off that I'm even settling for this.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, you're lucky I'm even giving you this. And I'm like, man, I was like so close to just like, I really wanted to sock him in the face because he just pissed me off so bad just by even saying that. I'm
Yeah.
like, are you kidding me? Like, dude, you're screwing me so bad.
Yeah.
Like, and I know how much he bid for the job. He's making like 50% net profit because I paid for all the material. I paid for everything.
Yeah.
All he paid for was his own time.
Yeah.
He had nobody else.
Mhm.
So it was like he charged like $170,000. So I know how much he netted on the project. And it was just like such a gut punch, and it took multiple months to like even recover from that.
Yeah.
That was probably the hardest, because I never ended up getting the money. There was another project I worked with, a big, huge development. We did a bunch of homes, and they held, I think it was like $130,000 from me for like 6 months.
Yeah. Because they couldn't sell the. It's because they didn't sell the houses.
Because like there was like a little pause in the market.
Yeah.
Where they couldn't sell the houses, so they had no money.
Yeah.
And they just kept on pushing it off and pushing it off and pushing it off, and we're trying to figure out how we're going to pay for labor, how we're going to pay for our credit cards, and it's like
Yeah.
we had no liquid cash. Like it was literally like we had a bunch of debt on our credit cards because like all that money just stops.
Yeah.
And so like pretty much like that was super hard. I would say like just in general that became like super difficult, is like not having like money going through the business and just not having any money saved up for those kinds of things.
Yeah.
That obviously when we're in a growing mode, I would never save money because it was always grow.
Yeah.
Not, hey, let's save some money now and then later on we'll figure out about saving money.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have my own personal situations with different customers with bidding out one thing, and then we're known as more of a high quality company, so everything we install is high, but sometimes even with our quality, with some customers it's just not even worth it, because there's every little thing that they can find any little thing to complain about, and you're always sometimes going out there without an issue. It's something you click down and it's gone. So that's a huge thing estimating wise, is reading the customer and finding out, hey, is this customer maybe a little crazy, making sure that we're not getting ourselves in those situations. And a big thing also that I want to touch into earlier, it seems like we had a lot more money issues at the beginning with customers calling back when we used to charge cheaper, rather than now when we're known as more of a high quality company. We try to find more of our high quality customers, and we don't have much issues. It's usually the ones that we try to give discounts for, and those are the ones that are causing the biggest issues for us.
Yeah, I think that was kind of like a big thing for me, is like the people that were the hardest were the people that we were giving discounts for, and they were thinking that we were too expensive, and can we save a little bit of money here? Can we save a little money here? And we kind of try to try to get to their budget and try to tailor to them, and switch things that we would normally not do and do some things differently. And those would be the ones that bite us in the butt the most. Are the people that we go out of character and do things that we would usually not do, or take on projects that we'd usually not take on.
Mm-hmm.
And now I think we do a lot better job of and it might be a right customer for somebody else, but it's just not the right customer for us.
Exactly. And
so we've been doing a lot better job about these are the type of customers we want. We don't just bid out everything.
Yeah, and going right into that was one of my experiences. I felt really bad for this family. They had 2 disability kids, and felt really bad because it seemed like she was struggling. So what I did is I gave them a low bid. First off, gave them a low bid, and then they had a huge area of blackberries. And I'm like, hey, I'm just going to clear this area out for her. So we completely clear almost everything, and it's looking a lot better. Something that was completely extra. And she went after me saying, oh, I'm going to sue you because you didn't you didn't do this area, you did this area extra, but you have to finish this area. It's a whole separate area now.
Because you already started.
Because you already started.
Might as well just, I didn't want this area cleared, but since you started it, you have to finish it.
Exactly. And if something it wasn't around the property where it was even visible,
yeah,
it almost felt like she was taking advantage because she saw that I did something for her, but she's like, oh, I got him on the hook now.
Yeah.
So it was just, first off, that job didn't go good in the first place because I let emotions get with my bidding.
Yeah.
And then now we got to go back out and fix the situation that, now it's not worth somebody trying to sue us over a little day project. So I've had a lot of different situations like that. It's really hard sometimes as an estimator, mostly when I was newer, to not let emotions get into our numbers, because at the end of the day, we're not forcing them to go with our product or with our service. It's just, hey, this is what we're at. We got to stay firm because our quality is at that point.
Yeah.
So that was a huge thing.
So I guess something I got from the last mastermind conference that I went to, and I was talking to one of the guys, and he's like, there's 3 things each business has. They have price, quality, and service.
Mm-hmm.
And which order is your company? Like, for instance, Walmart, they go first price, and then quality, and then service. You go over there and there's nobody ever working there.
Yeah.
You can never find anybody. And then you go to, like, for instance, like a Whole Foods or a New Seasons, and then it goes first quality, service, and then price.
Mm-hmm.
And you start looking at, like, are we competing pricing with other companies? Obviously, we always try to be competitive.
Yeah.
But are we competing pricing, or are we competing, I would say our company is service first, quality, and then price.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say not like our quality is not good, but I think our service is better than our quality. I would say there's not a lot of companies that can compete with our type of customer service that we offer and in the customer experience that we offer for customers. And you look at other companies and their price, service, and then quality, or vice versa. Price is they always go the cheapest price, and then we're trying to compare apples to oranges, and we're trying to bid against these people, and we're I've seen bids where I'm I cannot believe I didn't win the bid. I gave him such a good deal, and this is before obviously when I was still bidding, but I'm that's crazy. I cannot believe he found somebody for $5,000 cheaper than me.
Yeah.
And later on, I'm driving by and I'm well, makes sense now. He wanted an arborvitae hedge. I'm planting 55 arborvitaes at 6 foot tall, and I drive by there and he's planting 2 foot tall arborvitaes every 4 feet.
Yeah.
And I'm okay,
makes sense.
Right there, you just saved $3,000. And then I look at the grass, and the grass, he had a chain link fence, so when you're driving by, you can see it.
Yeah.
The grass was half the size that I was putting it.
Yeah.
And it was already yellowing and stuff like that. And I'm yeah, you're comparing apples to oranges.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's really hard in the landscaping industry is it's never apples to apples. It's not like installing hardwood floors in somebody's house or installing sheetrock. You know where that sheetrock's going. There's so many variables that can affect the price. There's size of plant. How deep are you putting your gravel, your bark dust? There's also how you're installing your irrigation, what kind of heads are you putting? What kind of nozzles are you putting? What kind of valves are you putting? What kind of control are you putting?
Yeah.
There's so many different variables that go into the price that can literally affect the price 30, 40, 50%.
Yeah.
Of course, there's people that can charge less per hour than us, but they're not going to provide the same type of quality of service and also quality of work and customer service and also quality control and all that kind of stuff. So it's sometimes it sucks to compete apples to oranges, but the best thing we can do is educate the customer and tell them how we're different than other companies and what are they getting different than us.
Yeah, definitely. And a huge thing you kind of went into is how many variables are in landscaping. A huge thing also that young owners or young estimators is learning the market. There's so many things that I made mistakes on that I don't do anymore because I got burnt. For example, measuring out incorrectly or measuring or finding techniques where it's quicker to measure and then getting burnt. I have one project where I actually used Google Maps to measure everything out, but it was on a slope and it was getting covered a little bit, and the sloping made the linear footage a little bit shorter than it was. And it was about a $2,000 mistake because we had to buy an extra roll of artificial turf.
Yeah.
So, I'll never make that mistake again. But there's so many different variables that can really change up a bid, one way or another.
Yeah, and also, people have a really hard time, like, obviously when they're starting a company, they're working themselves, and they're like, oh yeah, I can't believe you're charging that much. I can charge $25 an hour. Well, you got no overhead. You're charging for yourself.
Yeah.
But if you ever want to get an employee or get like 2 employees or 3 employees, now you have to start paying for insurance. You need to start paying for a truck.
Yep.
You need to start, now you're not getting paid. So who's paying for your time? Now your time needs to go into their time. You're not going to charge what they're
Yeah.
So like, obviously, there's efficiencies in doing it yourself, but you lose a lot of stuff. You save on price, but you lose a lot on quality, or not quality, but I would say you lose a lot on service, and then also quality, because quality of work, as far as like, you want this job done, okay, you can get it done in 6-7 months.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who wants to wait that long? Like, yeah, the price is great. He might be a great quality, but
back to the big three: the price,
big 3,
quality.
So like,
yeah.
I think that's like every single company has a big 3. So
yeah.